Human Rights Watch has called for sanctions against Cameroon security forces and separatist fighters implicated in rights violations in the northwest and southwest regions of the country. The rights groups, in a report released this Monday, says that civilians are bearing the brunt of senseless killings and other forms of rights violations in the two restive regions. And 7 armed bandits have been presented today to pressmen in Douala. They were apprehended by elements of the Gendarmerie Company Command of Douala 1 in possession of firearms and other stolen items. Those are top stories. Good evening and thanks for joining us. You're watching the Primetime Newscast on STV. Just as we told you in the headlines, Human Rights Watch has called for sanctions against Cameroon security forces and Ambazonian separatist fighters for committing rights violations in the northwest and southwest regions of the country. The rights groups lament that civilians continue to bear the brunt of atrocities committed by government forces and separatist fighters in the restive regions, despite the holding of peace talks between government and some jailed leaders. Details in this report.
According to a latest report published by Human Rights Watch this July 27, they estimate that at least 285 civilians have been killed in about 190 incidents since January 2020 in the northwest and southwest regions, where violence has been acute since late 2016, with attacks displacing tens of thousands in the past 2 months, adding to the hundreds of thousands who have fled their homes since the conflict began. They also added in the report that all these attacks and killings are ongoing despite talks between government and jailed separatist leaders, while adding that all parties to the talks should publicly commit to immediately end abuses against civilians and ensure that victims of abuses have access to effective remedies. The fruits of this article stems from telephone interventions done on 20 victims and witnesses of human rights abuses by both parties between mid-May and early June 2020, as well as 15 family members of victims residents in these regions. Louis Moch, the Central African Director at Human Rights Watch, also states that Cameroon's international partners and the UN Security Council should help civilians in the Anglophone regions who are facing violence on a daily basis and demand government forces and separatists stop attacks on civilian targets while imposing targeted sanctions, including travel bans and asset freezes on separatist leaders responsible for abuses, and consider the same for government forces involved in abuses.
The founder of the Center for Human Rights and Democracy in Africa has called the special status accorded to the northwest and southwest regions of the country a farce. Barrister Felix Nkongwa-Gbobala, who led the banned Anglophone Civil Society Consortium, laments that there is nothing in the special status which guarantees autonomy for the people of the English-speaking regions of the country. He was guest on the program Hard Talk.
Need and the special status that they have, it's a farce. Okay, because if you look at what happened at the major national dialogue, the special status was given, not so, and the participants at the grand dialogue left it to the state to determine the content. They gave the state government carte blanche to determine the content. But when you look at the content today, I mean, apologies of the special status, I regret it. I'll give you a few examples, okay?
Yeah.
If you look at the special status, what does it clearly say? You know, this is supposed to be a special arrangement for the southwest and the northwest because of our specificity, our linguistic and historical, background. A major innovation in the special status from what we have today, if you look at the law on decentralization of 24th December 2019, it talks about the fact that the regional houses will be made up of 90 members, okay? In the southwest and the northwest region, the 90 members would include 20 who are traditional rulers. In the francophone areas, they would have 90 members, and the regional house would determine the number of traditional chiefs. So that is what people are talking as a difference. Okay. Secondly, the law makes to the effect that when the houses are sitting in the southwest and northwest, we would have a divisional house, representing the divisions, the 70, and then the 20 of our traditional area will sit separately, giving the impression that we are having a house of chiefs, like we used to have during the days of federation. But it's nothing, okay? And for the francophones, the 90 would sit. Those are the things that they are claiming they've given. And then also this ombudsman, who is appointed by the president to solve problems. But he's appointed by the head of state and can be dismissed by the head of state. So you tell me, when you look at that, look at aspects of autonomy. The governors are still appointed, the SDOs and DOs, they still have power. So what we thought was that we would have some measure of autonomy where we could determine our educational system, our judicial system, our police, and the rest, to avoid this marginalization and assimilation that we've been saying for years, 56, 57 years. They've been perpetuating over us. So at the end of the day, nothing really has been brought in by the special state.
Jean-Camp Germany, a member of the political group Citizen Consultative Forum, has slammed the senior divisional officer of Haut Plateau in the West region after he issued what he calls a disrespectful letter to the king of Bamenju, King Sokoju, for holding an undeclared political meeting. The members of the platform say they will continue fighting for the interest of Cameroonians. Ladonette Oni has more.
Il menace de venir fermer une chefferie. C'est dire que nous ne sommes plus dans un état de droit, et ça depuis 90.
Disrespectful and in violation of the law were the terms used by Jean-Camp Germany, a member of the Citizen Consultation Framework, to describe the letter addressed by the senior divisional officer of Haut Plateau, Bolonugol Felix, to His Majesty Sokojo of Bamenju in the West region of Cameroon.
I am happy to have you here so that we can address the letter that was served by the STO of Haut Plateau to His Majesty Sokojo. We think that letter was disrespectful and then was in violation of the law. We went to meet the Chief Sokojo on the 18th of July 2020 to present to him the framework of consultation and then to seek his advice. This man is 84 years old. He's been chief for 67 years. He's a library of the history of this country. So going to meet such a man was for us the first step for consultation. And we met him in his house. He served us food in his house, and then I don't think that no one has to go and ask the government for the right to receive his children and then serve them food.
At a press conference on Sunday, 26 July 2020 in Douala, Jean-Camp Germany and his counterparts tabled their reasons for visiting the chief, questioning the supposed offense committed.
The second thing that's very important is that we believe that the government, or this letter, is not only a letter coming from that SDO. I think that is coming from higher than that, there are some people in high quarters that might be afraid of this initiative, which is actually a noble one. Our initiative has identified two areas, the return of peace in Cameroon. In the northwest and southwest, of course, urgently, and of course also the return of peace in the far north of the country. People tend to forget that, but people are dying there. Cameroonians are dying every day, and soldiers are dying there. And then the second thing is we have to address the issue of sovereignty, national sovereignty, and then democracy. We feel that the issue of sovereignty is intertwined with that of democracy. You can never have democracy, you can never have decentralization or federalism if you are still under the control of the former colonial power. So we have to address those two issues. That's why we think that the nature of the state must be addressed first before we start worrying even about the form of the state.
Thank you.
Ensuring peace in the northwest and southwest regions and in the far north region is an action they intend furthering.
About 7 men of the Underworld nabbed by elements of the Gendarmerie Company Command in Douala 1 have been presented to pressmen today. The suspects were picked up in possession of firearms and stolen items. Details with Christelle Asexuele.
The pursuit for money and easy life has grounded this gang of bandits you see here. They were ambushed and arrested by the forces of law and order by the Compagnie de Gendarmerie of Douala 1 municipality. They all have been summoned after exploitation from the phones which they took away with them during the operation. After a thorough body search, 4 locally fabricated pistols, 10 hunting cartridges, a hood of paper rolls cut to the dimension of banknotes and other materials used to scam people were apprehended with them. One of them in question fully confesses.
There are too much business outside. I'm a fair man, so that's how the way I pass to live my own life. I don't have mother, I don't have father, so I must try for myself to make it.
He goes further to explain how he operates to scam his victims.
The agreement that I will agree with you, I cannot make money, I don't have machine, they use this machine to make money. You cannot transform those papers to money. So I've just, when I put inside my box, I say it's money. I can just take 2 copies of money and put it on top that box and say it's money, just full that box. They use the machine to make money, you cannot make money with your hands. So that's how I do to earn on my life.
This group of hoodlums ambushed on July 4 and 7 are made up of 2 bandits, a sales facilitator, a supplier of arms, and a host who housed the members of this group. Following investigations, this operation made it possible for a stolen vehicle at the Ominitspor neighborhood in Yaoundé, as well as a laptop, to be recovered.
The Divisional Officer for Lukuje in Kribi, south region of the country, is under custody after he allegedly killed a young lady believed to be his girlfriend. John Paul Sama spoke to a lawyer and sought to know the legal implications of such an act, and a report.
The nation was left in consternation when the news of a civil administrator who is said to have killed his lady friend broke over the weekend. Frank Delin Eyono Ebanga is said to have acted as an individual and will be judged, not as a divisional officer.
Il faut noter qu'il n'a pas posé un acte en tant qu'administrateur. Il a posé un acte en tant qu'individu qui est détachable de l'acte administratif, totalement détachable. Il n'a pas tiré sur sa femme, sur son ami, parce qu'il était militaire, il était sous-préfet. Il a utilisé parce que c'était son ami.
It should be noted that he didn't carry out the act as a civil administrator, but as an individual. He didn't shoot the lady because he was the divisional officer, and he can be sentenced and imprisoned if it is the case, like any other citizen. On the impact of his imprisonment or not, if he is not sidelined as an administrator or sent to his previous post, the fact that he is in this process doesn't take away his civil service status before he is sentenced or sent to another place of service. Given his background in military training, which enabled him to carry a weapon, legal experts, however, say it is more likely he be judged in a military tribunal. I think he has to stand trial in front of a military court because he is almost like a military personnel due to the training he got, and a firearm was involved in this. He was given a gun because he has been trained to have it. But this procedure is not likely to take place within his jurisdiction.
Il est donc justiciable comme tout le monde, sauf que il y a une certaine catégorie personnes, notamment les magistrats par exemple, qui ont ce qu'on appelle
It is a case like any other, but for the fact that there are certain categories of persons who have jurisdiction privileges which does not allow them to be judged where they are exercising.
Dans le cas où il sera poursuivi, qu'il puisse être poursuivi dans une juridiction autre que celle de la circonscription administrative dans laquelle il réside.
The Divisional Officer for Lukunje in the South region at the time of the incident was said to be preparing for a journey to the country's economic capital.
Traders of Marché Congo in the economic capital Douala are yet to recover from debt and hardship imposed on them by a fire incident which ravaged the market more than a year ago. The victims are still awaiting new structures to be built for them, as well as a relocation plan promised them by the city council. Oni Ladonet has more.
It's been more than a year ever since the ravaging fire incident at Marché Congo in the Douala 2 municipality. Traders in this market are yet to recover from the debts and hardship as a result of this disaster.
Non, remettre comment? On se remettra peut-être un jour, mais pas aujourd'hui.
Recover how? We might recover someday, but not today. We are still where we were on the night of 12 February. Look at the situation. We find ourselves in sheds because the council prohibited us from constructing. They promised to do it, but they haven't done anything so far. Come rain, come sun, we are still here. The council even promised to take us to safer places, but it wasn't done. We are still here at the starting point.
Alors nous sommes encore là au pied de départ.
We lost a lot, and by the grace of God, we are managing to live. Yeah, I'm a foreigner. I've stayed more than 18 years in this market. I've experienced all the fire incidents.
Moi j'ai tout perdu. Comme les autres commerçants, j'ai tout perdu. J'ai perdu.
I lost everything like other traders. I lost my shop and all that was in it. The fire in 2019 was more frightening than others in the past years.
C'était encore plus effroyable que celui de 2004.
Victims of this incident have been prohibited from constructing, and the relocation centers promised by the government, in close collaboration with these traders, are yet to materialize. These relocation sites, they even took money from us. I gave over 250,000 so they could construct, but they have not constructed anything. Pitching sheds all over the market has been the solution adopted by these traders so as to continue business, an action greatly hampered by rain.
C'est ce que nous vivons. Vous voyez que les commerçants sont là, abandonnés, comme vous voyez là, on est là sur le site.
Traders are here abandoned. As you can see, we have made up some sheds. When it rains, it's really difficult. When you go to the other side of the road and see how other traders are on the pavement, it's really difficult. You understand that those that cannot support go out of business and go back to the quarters.
Qui ne peuvent peut-être pas supporter se retrouvent malheureusement hors du commerce et peut-être dans le quartier avec tout ce qui peut suivre.
These market traders are calling on the government to come to their aid by providing them with relocation sites or granting them permission to construct new shops.
Out of the country, with more than 4 million confirmed cases of COVID-19 in the United States of America, many states are pausing reopening efforts, leaving those who remain unemployed unsure about their future. As a result, Senate Republicans plan to introduce another coronavirus relief bill this week. We have details with the VOA.
Confirmed cases of the novel coronavirus are surging across the United States, particularly in the Southeast.
We're finding more cases because we're testing more, but indeed what we need to do is make sure that we focus on those nursing homes, long-term care, so that we can bring that death count down because those are the ones that are most at risk.
Health experts say increased testing is just one factor in the number of new infections, and officials in many states have criticized the overall federal response to the virus.
We are at the mercy of what's going on around the country. No national strategy, no public health investment. It's a hoax. It is the worst abdication of a national response and responsibility to protect Americans I've ever seen in my government career.
As many states pause reopening plans, grappling with new spikes in virus cases, the roughly 11% of Americans who are unemployed worry that a new coronavirus relief package will not be passed in time for them to pay their bills. Republicans in the Senate are slated to unveil the new plan this week, but tough negotiations lie ahead with Democrats.
We are going to be prepared on Monday to provide unemployment the
primetime newscast on STV. Thank you very much for watching. Do have a good night.